Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live. Talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynncullenshow@gmail.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Right. Jeez. Hello. That's just the sound of a normal American reacting to the news. Oh my God. Okay, so I've been pretty good about avoiding you know who. I can't. Man. I mean, it's Wednesday. It's midweek, and I've just gotta deal with some of what's been emanating from the highest reaches of the American government, which is so humiliating that this is our government. This deranged, pathetic lunatic. So, you can tell when he's, feeling vulnerable, because he's lashing out more than usual. Lashing out is what he does, but exhibiting the kind of, sort of crazed vengefulness and paranoia, and you can just start seeing spittle flying. He's just unraveling when he can't feel he can control things, when somehow something is slipping away. And this Epstein thing is wow. I wouldn't have given it this long a life. And I'm still not saying it's going to take him out. Nothing seems to be able to take him out. But this is something that's eluding his usual abilities to change the subject. And it's the changing the subject stuff that's getting more and more outrageous. The stuff he's throwing out there, the bright, shiny objects. I mean, we might have started with let's reopen Alcatraz and stuff like that, but now we're on to suggesting that he's going to prosecute Barack Obama for treason. This is well beyond anything he's done before. And so, what I've been thinking about is his mental health and how he is so clearly mentally ill. He is. This is a man who exhibits quite forthrightly a number of mental illnesses. I'm no shrink, no doctor, so I don't know how many and what exact, personality disorders, but man, you can see the paranoia. You can see the grandiosity, the narcissism. You can see the sort of sociopathetic behavior, the total lack of empathy. It's all just out there, and this is it because all of it is just out there. This is the reason I struggle so and will until my dying day to comprehend how anyone could look at him and see someone they admire or somebody they see as strong or or somebody they'd want to emulate, or somebody that they would give their vote for the highest office in the land and indeed probably the world, beyond belief. So, and yet, look at the power this guy has amassed by flouting laws, and our system can't keep up with the flouting in real time. So judges say things and decree things, and they're ignored. And our Chief Justice and his cohort, in fact, when things come to them, they often give him exactly what he's wanting. So I don't know. Somebody was reminded of something that was said when he accepted the nomination to run a second time, accepted and gave a speech at the Republican National Convention. And like so many things that come out of his mouth, it was incoherent. It was this, long, outrageously long blather, and again exhibiting that he was emotionally unwell. And at the time, Tom Nichols, who writes for the Atlantic, said exactly that. So this would have been about a year ago, maybe, and Trump's speech. And Nichols wrote, "These are the ramblings of a man who has serious psychological problems. He is emotionally unwell." And then Nichols went on to say that his speech showed signs of paranoia, of rage, of pettiness, and of desolating selfishness. Well, yep, that sure sounds like some adjectives that would apply to the guy we know and unfortunately have come to know. But when this guy is cornered, the rage, the pettiness, the emotional instability comes out much more. So here you have an instance where he has a head of state in the Oval Office, cameras rolling. And I mean, how many times have these things happened where you just wait for some extraordinary, embarrassing blather to occur? And boy, did it ever. I want to get his words right. So in the Oval Office with him was the Philippine president. When did friggin' Marcos become his son? It's like RFK Jr. Ferdinand Marcos Jr. is now the president of the Philippines. How did that get away from me? Are the Filipinos suffering from the same kind of craziness that Americans are? You can't recall what it was like to have the Marcoses in power? Well, come to think of it, though, the guy they had who's now on trial at the Hague, Duterte, is that his name? Did prove to be more murderous than the grifting Marcoses. But so you go from that to the Marcoses again? Jesus H. Anyway, so yeah, Ferdinand Marcos Jr. is in the Oval Office. And after, we know how these things are scripted, and then the media who are there are given the opportunity to ask questions. And because this is the thing he can't control, one of the questions was about Epstein. And that's the trigger. He went berserk. He went berserk. And if you look at what he says, it is incoherent and it is filled with projection and need for revenge. And he says, so that he's asked about Epstein and why information, the file, can't be made public as had been promised. And Trump says the witch hunt that you should be talking about is they caught President Obama. Now, as you know, on his Truth Social posts, he put out a few days ago an AI generated thing of Obama in the Oval Office being arrested by ICE and taken down to the floor. And I guess Trump is sitting off to the side, smiling. Stop and think about it just for a minute. I mean, that we've become so inured to his behavior and his flouting of all norms that this is the President of the United States putting crap, AI generated crap, out there to the masses. And dangerous crap, because he's clearly building up a story that Barack Obama is a criminal, that Barack Obama needs to be arrested, that Barack Obama is a traitor. And he's setting up Barack Obama for, well, whatever, assassination. Certainly, Barack Obama's security has become tighter. So he's doing what he does. He feels they're coming after him, and so he's going to, with the power he has, change the prey to the predecessor he hates so much. Well, he hates all of them. They caught President Obama, he says, to the global media. And what he's referring to, of course, is this bullshit that his bullshit head of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, came out with the other night, that that Obama engaged in traitorous activity. And so he goes on. This is our president with worldwide media there. Obama was trying to lead a coup, Trump said. And it was with Hillary Clinton. Now, guys, seriously. That is the President of the United States speaking. This is why we don't follow his every utterance, because this is, of course, untrue. It is totally made up. It is intended to divert everyone's attention from his own malfeasance. The only president who led anything like a coup was, of course, Donald Trump. So, again, the exhibition of projection of when he's accusing somebody of something, it is invariably something he himself has done. Obama was trying to lead a coup, and it was with Hillary Clinton. Now, I'm not going to go into the fact that what he's talking about is just absolute bullshit. That, in fact, his own Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, who was then in the Senate and heading a special committee, along with all other Republicans on the committee, said that the Russians. I mean, it's just there's we can't waste our time because then we're not focused on what this guy's clearly trying to keep us from being focused on, which is the cover up about him and Epstein. So he's blathering on saying he could have sent Hillary Clinton to jail, but in his his magnanimous way, because God knows when you think of Donald Trump, you think of kindness and why can't I think of how to pronounce it? Magnanimity. That's what you think of. And so our president said, yeah, I let her off the hook, and I'm very happy I did. But it's time to start after what they did to me. Whether it's right or wrong. Now, this is odd. Just listen to this. He's nuts. Whether it's right or wrong, it's time to go after people. Obama's been caught directly. He started it, and Biden was there with him. And then he just starts naming these people that haunt him in his head. And Comey was there, and Clapper, the whole group was there. I mean, stop and think of all the others, the names that we could, add to this list of people who he wants dead. He's guilty, said the president with the cameras rolling. This was treason, which of course carries the death penalty. This was every word you can think of. It's things like that he says that I find the most interesting because they are just total word salad. Because, of course, it's not every word you can think of. Think of a word, balloon. Is it balloon? No. Think of a word, pistachio. No, it's not pistachio. This was treason. It's every word you can think of. What? This is the President of the United States. Sometimes I can avoid it, and sometimes it just needs to be, I don't know, looked at. I mean, the bright, shiny objects. He was going crazy all last weekend. And I mean, there are people who look at this and think, good God, we know, by the way, he's not physically very well. The swollen ankles, all that stuff. It's starting to happen. I don't care what the venous insufficiency or congestive heart failure, who the hell knows. But you can see the panic, the flop sweat. I mean, what did he do the other day? I mean, just throwing anything he can Chase this one. No, chase that one. Oh, the Commanders. I'm not even going to give them a stadium unless they change their name back to the Redskins. Right. The whatevers, he said. They should immediately change back to the Washington Redskins. Likewise, the Cleveland Indians. See, what he's trying to do is what the game plan is what? Say something outrageous. Say something that will outrage the libs and get us to turn our attention to this shit. Now, you can say, well, that's what you're doing. But I didn't do it at the time. And I'm just doing it now because you see, it's with going after Obama for treason is a whole lot different than let's get back to the Washington Redskins. And this is why he's so dangerous when he feels cornered. You see the escalation. What could be next? One of the things too that I noted at the time, I just got to share with you because again, we've stopped commenting on the craziness because it is the norm, on the stupidity, on the barrage of lies. And every once in a while, forgive me, but I have to just scream about it. So somebody said he posted something like 38 times on Truth Social in a 2-hour period on Sunday night. This is the President of the United States. I mean, weird stuff, crazy stuff, and like Washington Redskins stuff and other stuff, videos. Maybe that's when the AI Obama getting thrown to the ground by ICE. I don't know. This is the most powerful man on earth. How he spends his evenings. And he says, the Cleveland Indians, one of the 6 original baseball teams. Well, I remember thinking, I don't know if they're one of the first, but I bet they aren't, is what I remember thinking. Because everything he says is a lie. And sure enough, the Cleveland Indians, first of all, they weren't called the Indians, was not a founding member of the National League, the first major baseball league. And they went through a whole bunch of names before they became the Indians in 1915. And now, of course, they're the Guardians. But so, again, yes, they were not the founding team. They weren't even called the Indians at the time that they first became a team. I mean, and I think that it's like a poison, little drops of poison. And I don't know how we're ever going to, I don't know, poison in the body politic. Oh, and another thing, something I thought of, Marco Rubio. I happened to see there was this list the other day of people in Trump's administration who are holding not just the job you think of when you think of him, like you think Marco Rubio, he's the Secretary of State. Yeah, he is. But you know what else he is? Because they keep throwing people out that have these positions. And then because there aren't enough loyalists I guess, around. He just tells someone who's already there, hey, you take this too. So Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, is also the acting archivist of the United States. Did you know that? You might have vaguely remember. Yeah. And that's not all. He is also the interim national security advisor. He is also the acting administrator of what remains of the United States Agency for International Development. Marco Rubio, poor little Marco. I mean, last time I thought about it, Secretary of State is one of those jobs that is 24/7, right? And the responsibility of that position is huge. So, sure, tell the guy who holds that to also run the National Archives, USAID, and be the National Security Advisor, which is to tell us what? That there's nobody minding the store. Because Rubio was not the only one on this list. There were like 7 or 8 people who are running 2, 3 agencies or not. We do not, I mean, in case you hadn't noticed, there is no functioning government. None. Although every once in a while we're reminded there is one. Here is a headline from today. This is one of those headlines that I read and do not have the stomach to read the story. Here it is. This is Trump's government at work. EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, said to draft a plan to end its ability to fight climate change. What? Okay. So here you have the supposed government agency that's supposed to be ensuring that our, well, air and water and everything is healthy, is planning to take away its power to do its mission. How the hell you do that, I don't know. It says here as subtitle. According to 2 people familiar with the draft, the EPA intends to eliminate the scientific finding that greenhouse gas emissions threaten human life by warming the planet. Okay. So Trump's EPA is going to just say that settled science is wrong. I don't care what you're seeing with the obvious warming globe. It ain't happening, and there's nothing we can do about it, even though science has told us we are the ones who have done it. Again, I'm going to ask people doing the chat to add a bunch of returns after, because I don't see. I'm just seeing half of the top of what you've posted. And I'm sure that's something I could fix, as I said yesterday, if I had a clue. But I don't. I'm like doing one of those things where you try to move something up. Yeah, like that. No, I can move it over, but I can't move it up. So, just saying. God. So I did see somebody commented something. It was a great comment because I hadn't thought of this. In a story about Trump going berserk and saying that Barack Obama was a traitor and that he intends to go after him. somebody pointed out in the comments section, I think it was the Washington Post. Hey, Donald, you remember your Supreme Court gave presidents immunity from just about anything they do as president while they're in the office, and even before and beyond, and who knows, in perpetuity. I can't quite remember. But what you're accusing President Obama of is something he did as president. And so that Supreme Court ruling would apply to him as well. That Supreme Court ruling, which you think of as a gift to yourself, is a gift to any person who holds that office. So that, I thought, good point. So if he's seriously, I mean, would ever even consider seriously going after a former president, he'd have a tough, tough time because of his own court giving him the gift of immunity. But it wasn't to Donald Trump, it was to the president of the United States. So all that is good. Oh, update on a story the other day about Trump again saying that Coca-Cola had, because of his pressure, had agreed to change their recipe, and so would no longer be using high fructose corn syrup in the Coke they bottle here in the United States, but instead go to a different recipe, which they use in Mexico and for kosher for Passover Coke, which doesn't use the corn syrup, but instead uses sugar cane as the sweetener. Remember that? And it was unclear because Coke hadn't announced that. Trump had announced it. And that is what we in journalism call an unreliable source. And I guess the Wall Street Journal dug in a little bit more. And what they've been able to ascertain, and perhaps you already know this, but I just found out today, is that Coke has agreed to provide both, which seems to be a good corporate decision, I guess. So the high fructose stuff will be available as regular Coke, and they will do what we've always thought of as Mexican Coke, and they'll put that out there too in the US. Whether it'll be as pricey as Mexican Coke is in the US, we don't know, but they're going to put up both. So something I came upon. But just before I get off this whole Epstein crapola thing, the Justice Department saying they're going to be talking to. I looked up how to pronounce her name, and it, believe it or not, is unclear. She's such a shadowy figure. The British pronunciation, and she was a Brit. The British pronunciation is Ghislaine Maxwell, or Ghislaine. Which one she called herself, we don't know. Ghislaine. Here in the U.S., we tend to say Ghislaine or Ghislaine. What the hell she calls herself other than a felon, I have not a clue. Anyway, this announcement that now they are thinking of going after her for some kind of what? Information is so laughable and so obvious, again, as a shiny object. I mean, anything she's going to say to Trump's Justice Department is something transactional. What do you want me to say? And you're going to let me out. Now, he doesn't dare let her out, does he? And turns out that the guy who's doing the questioning at Justice is one of Trump's former attorneys. Now in the Justice Department, there's many of them. This one is, it's not Bove, that's another one. He's put in the judgeship. I forget who this one is. What's his name? Todd Blanche. And so Todd Blanche is pals with her lawyer. They're buds. And her lawyer has confirmed that, yeah, he's been talking with his buddy, Trump's former lawyer, now a Justice Department official, about getting testimony from her, who was the main, she was his right-hand woman, Epstein. She is the one who found the girls, groomed the girls. She also raped the girls with him. And her attorney has now said, I can confirm we are in discussions with the government and that Ghislaine will always testify truthfully. Now, the funny part about that is one of the reasons she's sitting there in jail for 20 years is she was convicted of perjury. So, Ghislaine will always testify truthfully is laughable, clearly. And he went on to say, her attorney, we are grateful to President Trump for his commitment to uncovering the truth in this case. Oh my God. Something tells me this bright, shiny object ain't gonna work too well. God. Yeah, Rust Belt says Trump's still pissed that Obama roasted him at that 2011 White House Correspondents' Dinner. I have little doubt that that was when. That I agree. That because he publicly humiliated him. Trump had to sit there as the elite of Washington politics and media laughed at him. And I have little doubt that is exactly when he decided he had to take Obama down. So, Jesus. Yesterday, um, my sister and I were talking about this strange piece I had read and about how young men now and young women are just not getting together. And that there's something called, what was it? Hetero something? It's just like fatalism. Hetero fatalism, I think, where it's just like, forget about it. It ain't happening. We just can't. do it. And that the women are finding men emotionally remote, even the good ones. And the good ones are saying, what the hell do you want us to do? We do this, it's wrong. We do that, it's wrong. And they're all just bunkered. Not a lot going on with younger people or even older people. It's never been this bad, I guess, between the sexes. And we were talking about it, though, I think, as a particularly American thing. We were talking a lot about American culture and the impact of the Me Too movement and American feminism and whatever. I think I know I can't speak for Susan, but I was looking at it in those terms. And then today, in the business section of the New York Times, is this story about the hottest video game in China. It's called Revenge on Gold Diggers. And it's one of those interactive games where I guess you take out the gold diggers. The people who are playing the game are Chinese men. The gold diggers that they are taking out are, of course, women. And it says here that the whole story behind this hot Chinese video game is that some guy falls for a girl and she seduces him, drains him of his savings, and vanishes. And he reinvents himself as a Trumpian figure, as a businessman who seeks revenge on women like her. So that is the plot of Revenge on Gold Diggers. And I guess, well, this story says it is the hottest. It has electrified Chinese social media because it's become the the reason for an ongoing debate about Chinese men's misogyny. And I'm reading this story, and the complaints, they interview Chinese men, and the complaints that they have absolutely mirror the complaints that we hear from these American men who end up becoming these, Rogan bros who become Trump voters. It says that one of the most liked comments on the game's community board says this: men must never retreat. This is a fight to the death. The fight is against women. So, anyway, this article goes on and on and on about revealing deep seated male resentment and the broader socioeconomic anxieties about marriage and love and financial security. It's all the stuff that we were talking about happening here that is keeping young men and young women from committed relationships or even considering making families. So again, the article says many young Chinese men are disillusioned high housing costs, worsening job markets, limited social mobility. Oh boy. And it has dovetailed with anxiety about dating, marriage, and masculinity, breeding a sense of emotional desperation and making Chinese men bitter and blaming women. So Chinese men too are feeling victimized by women. So I found that an interesting follow up from what we were talking about yesterday. So I don't know. This might be more global than we realized. Whatever it is, it doesn't bode well for people who think who are worried about population decline, about the fact that there'll be nobody but robots to take care of older people or do any of the jobs. But that is true. They will be there, the robots. So who needs children? Eh? Who needs marriage? God, I'm sorry. Oh, God. The other thing that I mean, there's another number of things I haven't talked about that I know are being talked about. And one that, again, yesterday I said that, one of, I think it's K Street, right? K Street in Washington is where all the lobbying firms are headquartered. And I mentioned that those places are populated by a bunch of high salaried people twiddling their thumbs because lobbyists spent their time on Capitol Hill lobbying legislators, Congress people, and senators for their votes on whatever pieces of legislation they were wanting, the lobbyists. But there is no legislation anymore, except whatever Trump wants. There's literally no legislation. There was one what? Big, beautiful bill. That's all. We have a Capitol now filled with highly paid people and their staffs who have nothing to do because it's run by Republicans in control, and all they do is sit around waiting for Trump to tell them what to do. And so lobbyists literally have nothing to do. There's only one person worth lobbying, and you can't have thousands of lobbyists all trying to get to him. And there's no point doing it to a Congress that doesn't function except as a rubber stamp to the president. And that rubber stamp, the fact that the Speaker of the House actually closed down the Congress yesterday, right? Because there were members who were clamoring to take up an issue that had not come from the White House. And he, the Speaker, that would be Mike Johnson, had no way of controlling this insurgency other than to gavel the entire legislative body into adjournment and sent everyone home. I mean, stop and think about that. incredible capitulation of the Republicans to the executive branch so that there is no functioning legislative branch. And this is on the voters, totally, because it's the voters who put Republicans in charge. And it's why so many people are, desperate to get to the midterm elections when it is possible that voters might allow the Democrats to perhaps control a chamber or two and at least get back to some semblance of doing their constitutional duties, because the Republicans have abdicated totally. It's amazing that we're paying any of these people. So they were due to have a nice vacation anyway, and he just gave them added 10 days or so onto it, and said, we're gone. The reason being that he didn't know how else to avoid the subject of Epstein, because that's what the clamor was for. And I'll tell you something. This will help quiet things. These things, you can say, well, that ain't going to work. It's going to keep on keeping on. But at some point, this stonewalling and obfuscation and throwing things at the wall and look at this, look at that, will eventually cause people to peel away. Well, I think that Trump will manage somehow to wait this out. I don't know. Although he might lose his mind in the process, because it is clearly getting to him. Okay, yeah. Reopen Alcatraz. Alligators. Redskins. Obama, hang him. Traitors. What else am I missing? Something I haven't talked about is CBS and Colbert. There's no shutting up Stephen Colbert. I mean, he will reemerge in some other venue. The frightening thing about the cancellation of his show on CBS is the capitulation of major media, which we've seen from so many: the Washington Post, the CBS, Paramount, ABC. You gotta wonder. And then the suing of, so he's even willing to go after Murdoch and the Wall Street Journal. And I can't imagine that Fox News, another Murdoch property, is talking much about that, are they? Unbelievable. Just uneffing believable. The constant war on it's such a friggin' autocratic takeover with the immediate acquiescence and capitulation of all major institutions. It's mind-blowing to see the speed. 6 months. Every former president of the United States is spinning in his grave. And I really don't get how this can be happening, and we are so powerless that we have to just what? Watch? I don't get it. I really don't get it. Speaking of the pettiness and the vengeance, revenge stuff, I again saw a little piece, no big deal. Just some guy, I forget his name, who, when the ICE raids really started in earnest, he's a tech guy, and he figured out he created an app that is free, doesn't want to make any money off of it, but it's an app in which you can follow. It tries as much as possible to, I guess, out ICE wherever it is, what it's doing, where it is. An app that helps people, maybe keep a step ahead of them. And the guy who did it is said he did it because his grandfather was a Jew who got out of Russia when they were killing Jews left and right and rounding up Jews left and right. And he did it to honor his grandfather, who found himself as one of the hunted in another country, in another time, and who would have been helped if there had been, this ability to see where where the predators that were after him, where they were at any given moment. And so this guy put out the app, and again, I don't have any information here in front of me, and I'm not sure where it is, but I'm sure you could find it. And turns out that the inventor of the app, who's not making any money off it, turns out he's married, and turns out his wife works in Pam Bondi's Justice Department, in the accounting department. And she's been fired. Their need to create an understanding that anybody who fucks with us will pay. And to get that word out in a million different ways, intended to intimidate, intended to instill fear. So I started out talking about Trump's mental illness manifesting itself through this kind of pettiness, paranoia, vengeance. And it is now the hallmark of his entire government operation, which is his, not ours. That Justice Department is not there for us anymore. It is there for him. The Congress of the United States is there to serve him, not us. And if you think for a moment that him suggesting that Barack Obama attempted a coup, when the coup is happening now and is almost complete and is happening by Trump. My God, it really is something. It is his government, not ours. We the people.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.